An entertainment industry analyst speculates that Daredevil Born Again was publicly scrapped to head off Nelson Peltz's takeover of the Walt Disney Company. Entertainment industry analyst Andre Einherjar speculates that the reason why the Walt Disney Company and Marvel Studios publicly scrapped Daredevil Born Again was to head off a potential takeover by investor Nelson Peltz. Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company publicly scrapped Daredevil Born Again in an expose with the Hollywood Reporter, where they also revealed they were restructuring their entire Marvel TV division. If you don't know about this news, I'm going to provide you some information about it. In the report from the Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt, it was revealed that the show's writers, Chris Ord and Matt Corman, as well as its directors, were being removed from the project, and the studio was planning a, quote, significant creative reboot of the series. On top of this, Kitt revealed the new structure as well. Or the new TV restructuring as well. He said showrunners will write pilots and show Bibles. The days of Marvel shooting an entire series from She-Hulk to Secret Invasion, then looking at what's working and what's not, are done. So they're completely changing how they're making TV. They also plan on hiring seasoned full-time TV executives to run their TV operations instead of borrowing from their film division. Marvel's head of streaming television and animation, Brad Winderbaum, informed Kitt thus, it's a term, showrunner, we've not only grown comfortable with, but also learned to embrace. We need executives that are directed to this medium, but that are going to focus on streaming, focus on television, because they are two different forms. As far as his overall outlook with these changes, he said, we're trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture. It comes down to how can we tell stories in television that honor what's so great about the source material. Clearly something that they haven't been doing, an admission of that, right? That they're not actually admiring the source material. The public scrapping came in the wake of a CNBC report noting that Peltz and his Treon Fund Management Company were, quote, reigniting a potential proxy war with Disney less than a year after dropping the initial battle. I think he dropped the battle back in February after the Walt Disney Company did announce that they were going to be making some changes. However, it doesn't look like those changes have actually helped the company move in the right direction. So the CNBC report revealed that Peltz and Treon had, quote, increased its stake to roughly 30 million shares, valued at more than $2.5 billion. I think that's he's more than doubled his shares. I think he was at over $1 billion last time, and now he's at $2.5 billion. And that the firm quote firm plans to push for multiple board seats. In the firm's previous proxy battle, they only wanted a seat for Peltz, so now they're gunning for multiple board seats. Basically, a hostile takeover, it looks like. So, reacting to all of this, entertainment industry analyst and the founder of the Midnight's Edge YouTube channel, Andre Einherjar, posited, without the threat of a new proxy fight, Marvel would have done this quietly, referring to the scrapping of Daredevil Born Again, and behind the scenes. Sure, they may have announced the new writers, but they would have done it in a way where it would have sounded like they had been there all along. He then provided an example. He says, case in point, both Miss Marvel and the upcoming Echo and the Agatha All Along series, I don't, it's been changed so many times, so who knows what the actual title of that show is, were all subject to so extensive reshoots that they might as well have redone the whole thing. Yeah, I think the Echo was originally supposed to be like 8 episodes. It was cut to 6. Now it's cut to 5, and they're dumping it all at once, which is a very drastic change to how they normally do their shows, which is usually like 1 or 2 episodes at once and then weekly afterwards, whereas Echo, they're just dumping it all at once. Einherjar then positive, I submit that the only reason that Disney publicly admits that they are in the process of retooling Daredevil, and in the process also tacitly admitting that their plan failed and they don't really know what to do instead, is showing Nelson Peltz, Treon, and their shareholders that they know that they've screwed up, but they're taking active measures to fix it. So he's positing that, hey, our total TV strategy for Disney Plus has been an absolute failure. We are now changing it. We do recognize that we have failed, and we are now changing that structure moving forward to try and be like, hey, we are taking this advice. We can do this without him kind of taking over the board seats. And some of those measures may be rather drastic. So he goes on and posits that they're going to probably be scrapping a number of Disney Plus shows. He says, others, however, might not be so lucky. The aforementioned Echo and Agatha All Along series have already been subjected to extensive reshoots, yet they are allegedly still awful. That would be because they were exclusively made for ESG and DEI purposes, not because the character deserved the series or because there was a story need for them, and certainly not because there was any kind of public demand for them, which there wasn't. Quite the contrary. Exactly. There was absolutely zero reason why anyone would win an Echo or Agatha series. You can point to Eternals, where they have public statements that was moved up because they wanted to push this kind of ESG, DEI, woke agenda into their films. That was the reason why the Eternals was moved up. You have that from Kevin Feige himself saying that. Nevertheless, Einherjar goes on and says, this is also true for Ironheart. When we first saw in the female Black Panther keep the water Mexicans out of Wakanda Forever, I thought that was kind of funny. Little joke there about that movie. Like Secret Invasion, the only thing any of these series can do for the Marvel brand is to damage it, and I think that is likely true. So what can Marvel do to avoid that brand damage? Honestly, only one thing, and that is to scrap them all. And there is a very real chance they just might do this. Yeah, I think there is a definite chance that they should do this. We're seeing them scrap Daredevil Born Again. Why would they not scrap other productions that they already had in the works as well? Maybe something like the Wonder Man series. In fact, we have Einherjar citing Scooper My Time to Shine Hello, who posited earlier this month that Feige is canceling all the shows. Although My Time to Shine Hello says the man has lost his mind and his touch. I would actually wager that canceling these shows is not actually losing his touch or losing his mind. It's actually getting his mind back on the right track and regaining his touch, given the fact that a lot of these shows were only greenlit for that ESG money and weren't actually driving subscribers, aren't driving people to the box office at all. Only the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has made any kind of marginal profit for the Walt Disney Company this year. Obviously, that is a James Gunn film, but even then, if you look at ticket sales and grosses compared to the first and second, much less than those two films. So the third one's still performing worse than the first two. Which I think is representative of a decline in audience perception of the Marvel brand. But interestingly, My Time to Shine Hello is not the only source that Marvel TV shows will be scrapped. MCU The Reign of Marvel Studios author Joanna Robinson recently did an appearance on the Watch podcast to promote the new book. Her new book, and asserted, after we heard about Daredevil, I've also heard again the Watch scoop, but also don't sort me. Dubious sources necessarily that they are trashing the Wonder Man project. There's a lot of stuff that is going to go in the can. She's saying that a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes where they're scrapping stuff. Wonder Man might be one of those projects. Einherjar then reiterated that drastic measures such as scrapping much of Marvel's TV slate need to be made because, quote, shareholders will not be fooled any longer. That is why Iger and his cronies obviously realize that they keep on pretending that everything is awesome when the shareholders can plainly see that it's not. Well, then the shareholders just might rebel and boot them all out and turn the Bob Iger company into the Nelson Peltz company. So that is what he has to say. I kind of agree with him. I definitely think that they're clearly trying to change a lot of this stuff. I do think this was kind of signaled already, though. Earlier this year, when Peltz made his first move, we had the Kevin Feige interview with Entertainment Weekly, where he said they were making less Disney Plus shows and spreading them out. And he really wanted to focus on quality over quantity. And he was also suggesting that they might get into kind of that traditional TV model where it's more episodic rather than serialized, something that I have been preaching for a very, very long time to do, something that I've heavily criticized The Mandalorian for not actually embracing, which they clearly sold us that. It was supposed to be kind of more of an episodic with maybe an overarching serialization over the course of a long season, but you would have like kind of very episodic episodes where they could be watched individually, and you could have reruns and stuff like that. You'd have people coming back and watching them later on. I mean, that has been the longstanding traditional television model. That's why Star Trek was so successful, is because it found an audience in syndication, because you could watch the episodes without having to watch like 10 other episodes before. You could just hop right into that first episode and get involved in it. And so I definitely feel like these changes are coming, and I feel like they have been coming because of this Disney's basic economic predicament that they're in. They're in decline across the board. Their movies and television shows are not performing. Their Disney Plus service is in decline. You're seeing viewership on kind of their flagship properties, Star Wars and Marvel, declining, even though they might be adding new subscribers. So it seems to indicate that they're not actually driving subscriptions, Marvel and Star Wars. That's kind of already steady there. They already got the market on those people that are interested in that. So we'll see what happens here. But I kind of do agree with Andre's assertion here, and I think that he's right on the money, and we will see what happens, because it does look like Nelson Peltz is even more serious now, and he's ready to make a move against the Walt Disney Company. But let me know what you think in the comments below.
Subscribe for more.